Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about the subject pronouns and the verb ser. Okay, so in English, it's kind of important that we know our subject pronouns because, for example, if I write the word, let's see why I can't get it up here. If I write the word run, maybe I write it like this, okay? And I ask you who's doing the running, you have no idea who's doing the running. But if I say something like I run, then now you know who's doing the running. Who is it? It's I am, right? Or if I say you run, or I say we run, they run. So what I've essentially done by adding I, you, we, and they in front of my verb to run is I've conjugated my verb. And how I conjugate it in English, it's a little trickier than that, but for the most part, what I do is I add a subject pronoun in front of the verb, okay? So it's a little more complicated in Spanish, but it makes sense that if you need to know subject pronouns to conjugate your verbs or let people know who's doing that action, who's doing the running, who's doing the jumping, who's doing the singing in English, we're probably going to need to know what those guys are in Spanish as well, okay? So if we go up here, if I want to refer to myself, let's actually, we're not going to do regular verbs first. We're going to do an irregular verb first, but I'm just going to do this as an example. Okay, correr means, actually, let me go back. Correr means to run, okay? And whenever you have, that's the infinitive form of a verb. It's a non-conjugated form. We don't know who's doing the running, okay? So let's say I want to say, I run, okay? I'm going to need that subject pronoun in Spanish. So if I want to talk about myself and I want to say I run, the word that I'm going to use in Spanish is yo, okay? So if I go back down here and I want to say I run, I'm going to say yo. I'm going to put yo in front of this verb. Yo corro. Now you'll notice that I changed my verb, which I didn't do in English. Over here in English, I had the verb run, and I kept it the same. I just added a subject pronoun in front. In Spanish, we're going to have to do some changing of the spelling of our verb, which I'm going to talk to you about in a minute. But if I wanted to say I run, and I want to refer to myself, I just say yo. Let me see. I don't know if I can move it or not. Let's see. Okay. If I want to say you run, right down here, I want to say you run. Okay, so if I wanted to say you run, the pronoun that I'm going to use is tú. Tú if I'm being informal, like if I'm speaking to a peer or a friend. And if I want to be formal, I'm going to use usted, which is abbreviated UD. And it's still pronounced usted. I've had students before call it oud, but it's not oud, it's usted. Well, that didn't work out very well. And this is formal. And this one up here. Whoops. So if I wanted to say you run, I would either say tú corres, or I could say usted corre. Okay, and again, don't worry so much about how my correr is changing because we're going to go over that in the next few weeks. What you need to notice is that I want to say I run, I refer to myself as yo with correr. If I want to say you run and I'm being informal, you're my friend, I'm going to say tú with correr. If I want to be more formal, I say usted with correr. If I want to say she runs, I'm going to use ella. So if I want to say she runs, I'd go down here and say ella corre. Okay. If I want to say he runs, I would use él. So I would go down here and actually say él corre. Okay. If I want to say we run, so now I'm going to get into the plurals. If I want to say we run, oops, I keep doing that. I would use either nosotros or nosotras. And the difference is that you'll notice in this group, there happen to be girls and boys. So we would use nosotros. We would say nosotros corremos. Okay. If, however, this had been a group of just girls and I wanted to say we run, I would say nosotras. All right, now you'll notice that there's also another you right here. This you might be better off thinking of as you all. Okay, and so what this you is a you plural. And so here I'm saying you run, just one person, and over here I'd be saying you guys, you all run, okay? And there's a couple of ways to say that as well. If you are in Spain, if you're in Spain, you are going to use vosotros or vosotras. Vosotros or vosotras. And again, if I'm saying you guys run, and I'm talking to a mixed group, which is what I have here, I'm going to say vosotros corréis. Corréis. Okay. And if that group that I'm saying you guys run happen to be girls, I'm going to use vosotras corréis. Okay? If, however, I happen to be in Latin America, instead of using vosotros, I would use ustedes, which can be abbreviated UDS. And again, it's not udes, it's ustedes. Okay, so if I want to say, you all run and I'm in anywhere in Latin America, instead of saying vosotros corréis, I would say ustedes corren. Okay. And then down here for they, if I want to say they run, I've got two ways of doing they as well. If this group that's in the middle that they're pointing at happen to be either boys and girls, like I think is this situation, or just boys, you would say ellos. And if it's all girls that are the they, you're going to use ellas. So if I wanted to say they run, I would either say, I guess I'll go up here and do it over here. I would either say ellos corren, or I might say ellas corren. Okay. Now you'll notice that they have a little block over here for it. I'm going to put a little X on it because there's not really an it subject pronoun in Spanish. We are going to talk about next class, you know, how you tell the gender. I've told you that everything has a gender. So for inanimate objects like a book or a desk, you would use he and she for how to conjugate your verb. So I'm going to put a little X over it so that we remember there's not really an it subject pronoun that you'll be using.